Dillon Gabriel just may have delivered the most catastrophic hit of the Browns' entire season. And it wasn't in a game. It wasn't even televised. It happened on a practice field during a red zone drill, in what was supposed to be a non-contact rep. 1 second, Shedeur Sanders is rolling out, reading the field. The next, boom. Gabriel comes flying in and delivers a reckless, shoulder-crunching hit that drops Sanders hard to the turf. No pads. No helmets. No justification. Everyone stopped. Trainers sprinted in. Coaches didn't move fast enough. Teammates froze. And Gabriel didn't even try to help him up. You could hear the silence hanging in the air like smoke. It wasn't just a bad hit. It was intentional. And the moment Shedeur grabbed at his shoulder, wincing, grimacing, you could feel the entire trajectory of the Browns' season start to shift.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
That hit wasn't just a mistake. It was a message. The only problem? That message blew up the entire organization. Because what followed was a slow-motion implosion of trust, culture, and leadership. Let's rewind for a second. These aren't just any rookies. The Browns drafted both Gabriel and Sanders in the same class. A bold, headline-making move meant to future-proof the franchise. 2 dynamic college quarterbacks. 2 alpha personalities. 1 job. At first, the vibe was chill. Mutual respect. Some healthy competition. But underneath the press conference smiles and sideline handshakes, something started to simmer. Reps were split awkwardly. Media narratives favored Sanders. Teammates picked sides quietly. Coaches played coy, giving cryptic soundbites about letting the best man rise. But here's what they forgot. You can't throw 2 hungry quarterbacks into the same cage with no mentor, no boundaries, and no leadership, and not expect a fight. And that fight came in the form of Dillon Gabriel blowing up Shedeur's shoulder in the middle of a non-contact drill. Not just a bad decision. A career-altering one. Shedeur was helped off the field, clearly in pain. But within 2 hours, the injury wasn't the only thing dominating headlines. Sanders took to social media and did not hold back. He called out the Browns directly, blasted the coaching staff for letting things get this toxic, accused the organization of playing favorites, of choosing chaos over structure, of turning a blind eye as the tension between him and Gabriel boiled into something physical and dangerous. And the part that made jaws drop? He didn't just vent. He exposed screenshots, hints at private conversations, cryptic quotes that only people inside the building would understand. You could almost hear the PR team's heart rate spike as the likes and retweets skyrocketed. And the locker room? Instantly divided. Within hours, you had offensive linemen backing Sanders publicly. Receivers reposting Gabriel's college highlights, throwing shade. The veterans tried to pull things back together, but the foundation had already cracked. Nobody trusted anybody. The leadership vacuum at the top had officially sucked all the air out of the room. And the coaching staff? Silent. No immediate press conference. No disciplinary action. No unity speech. They just stood back and watched it all unfold online, as if hoping it blows over had ever worked in the NFL. Spoiler, it doesn't. Let's talk about Dillon Gabriel for a second. This guy entered the draft as a high-upside, high-risk player. A gunslinger. Confident. Maybe too confident. And from day one, insiders whispered that he was feeling slighted, living in Shedeur's media shadow, even though he believed he deserved the spotlight. That resentment, that quiet frustration, it didn't come out in words. It came out in a hit. And now, his future is just as uncertain as Sanders. Because yeah, Shedeur's injured, and his MRI didn't bring good news. We're talking potential ligament damage, inflammation, extended rehab time. He's now weeks behind in the quarterback race. But Gabriel isn't exactly thriving in the aftermath. Teammates don't trust him. Coaches are being forced to walk on eggshells. And fans? Furious. You don't injure the face of the future in a practice drill and expect to be forgiven overnight. The fans rallied hard behind Sanders. The hashtag #ProtectShedeur movement exploded. Brown's Twitter turned into a battlefield. And the one thing that united them all? The belief that this franchise has no idea what it's doing. And can you blame them? The Browns' quarterback strategy has gone from bold to bizarre. 2 rookies. No clear starter. No veteran presence in the room. No plan for conflict resolution. Just vibes and hope. And now, that hope has turned into chaos. The preseason's already a mess. Installations delayed. Chemistry ruined. A divided locker room. A fan base on edge. And 2 rookie quarterbacks, whose careers are now more defined by a brawl than a breakout. And the fallout keeps coming. League analysts are openly calling the Browns dysfunctional. Former players are using the word negligent. Front office execs are scrambling to contain the narrative, but the damage is already out there, spreading screenshot by screenshot, hot take by hot take. Let's not overlook how avoidable this all was. All the Browns had to do was set boundaries, create structure, assign roles, bring in a steady veteran QB to mentor, to mediate, to lead. Instead, they built a quarterback room that doubled as a powder keg, handed out matches, and said, "May the best man win." And now, they're acting shocked that it blew up in their face. Coaches are deflecting. PR teams are working overtime. And meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders is recovering, not just from a shoulder injury, but from a massive breach of trust. And Dillon Gabriel is now walking around the facility like a ghost, present, but unwanted. A live reminder of what happens when a team lets ego and inexperience run the show. And here's the kicker. Both quarterbacks might lose. Shedeur loses valuable development time. Gabriel loses the locker room. And the Browns lose the most important thing a franchise can have, a sense of direction. What exactly is the plan now? Roll into week 1 with a wounded rookie and a quarterback no one wants to block for? Pray that someone miraculously steps up as the locker room therapist? Or maybe pretend none of it ever happened and just keep running drills like everything's fine. This isn't fine. This is a franchise crumbling under the weight of its own indecision. And if they don't course correct fast, it's not just the preseason they're tanking, it's the future. This could have been the start of a new era for the Browns. A chance to build a young, exciting offense. To give a rookie QB the tools to grow. To create a new identity. Instead, they've turned their quarterback room into a cautionary tale. So here we are. 2 quarterbacks. 1 injury. 0 leadership. And a team teetering on the edge of collapse before the season's even begun. If you're a Browns fan, this has to feel like déjà vu different players. Same chaos. Same lack of vision. Same exhausting drama cycle. The drama is just getting started. The question now isn't whether the Browns can recover from this. It's whether they will. Because if you've been watching this team long enough, you know how these stories usually end, with a press conference full of empty words, a roster shakeup that doesn't fix anything, and a season of what-ifs and wasted potential. But hey, maybe this time is different. Maybe someone in that front office wakes up. Maybe they stop pretending this is just part of the game and finally start holding people accountable. Or maybe this is just who they are. So what do you think? Did Dillon Gabriel cross the line? Did the Browns create this disaster by design? And where does Shedeur Sanders go from here? Drop your take in the comments, because this is more than just a training camp fight. This is the Browns unmasked. And if you live for chaos, controversy, and quarterbacks throwing more shade than spirals, hit that subscribe button. Because in Cleveland, let's not kid ourselves. The Cleveland Browns didn't just have a bad practice. They had a full-blown franchise identity crisis in broad daylight. Because the second Dillon Gabriel threw that hit, the second Shedeur Sanders crumpled to the turf clutching his shoulder. The Browns weren't just looking at a QB injury. They were staring down the barrel of everything they've been running from for years. No direction, no discipline, no leadership. Let's unpack it. You've got 2 rookies. Talented? Sure. Marketable? Absolutely. But raw, emotional, competitive to the point of chaos. And the Browns decided the best move, after decades of quarterback carousel instability and failed eras, was to throw both of these young guns into a pit together. No mentor, No hierarchy. No strategy beyond iron sharpens iron. You know what else iron does when it rubs together with no control? Sparks fire. And now they're burning. Let's not ignore the reality here. Gabriel and Sanders were never going to be best friends. From the jump, they were groomed to be rivals, drafted into a team already carrying the weight of its cursed QB history. This wasn't about development. It was about survival. One of them was always going to lose. One of them was always going to walk out of this battle bruised, maybe not physically, but emotionally, mentally, reputationally. Turns out both might. Because that late hit didn't just sideline Shedeur. It detonated everything. The locker room, the fan base, the coaching staff's credibility. It pulled back the curtain on a franchise that's been duct taping its quarterback issues for years and calling it a rebuild. And now they've got a top-tier rookie, who they just invested millions in, recovering from a shoulder injury that never should have happened. Not in that drill. Not in that setting. Not with this much on the line. But the real injury? It wasn't physical. It was trust. Shedeur came to Cleveland under the impression that he'd be supported, protected, given space to grow into the face of the franchise. What he got instead was a program so poorly managed that his own teammate, his own position room rival, was able to come in full speed and nearly take him out before his rookie year even started. And when it happened, crickets. No coaches rushing to his defense. No statement from the front office. No real consequence for Gabriel. Just silence. And the assumption that, eventually, the news cycle would move on. It didn't. Because Shedeur didn't let it. He flipped the script by doing what this generation of athletes does best. He took the narrative into his own hands. Logged on. Hit send. And within minutes, the NFL world was watching as one of the league's most promising rookies essentially declared war on the very team that drafted him. And let's be real, it wasn't just a vent. It was surgical. A carefully crafted, multi-post expose on dysfunction, favoritism, neglect, and everything wrong behind the scenes. He didn't name names, but he didn't have to. Anyone paying attention could read between the lines. This wasn't just Shedeur airing out a grudge. It was him lighting a signal fire. I'm not going to be quiet about this. And when a player has the talent, the pedigree, and the platform, that kind of honesty becomes dangerous for the franchise. Because suddenly, the story isn't about a QB battle. It's about betrayal. It's about a broken system. It's about a team that asks for loyalty, but offers no protection in return. Now the Browns are scrambling. Their preseason prep is a disaster. Every position group is distracted. Reps are wasted. Morale is low. And they can't even fake control anymore. Because the cracks aren't just visible. They're viral. And let's talk about Gabriel. This guy didn't just throw a bad block or make a clumsy tackle. He delivered the kind of hit you never see in practice. It wasn't instinct. It was intention. A move that either came from frustration or ego, or both. And now, he's the villain. Teammates are side-eyeing him. Coaches are avoiding questions. And fans? They've turned. No matter what he says from here, no matter how many apologies he whispers in the locker room, that moment is burned into his rookie resume. So what does the team do now? Honestly, they don't seem to know. You've got whispers of internal meetings, closed-door discussions, attempts to calm the tension. But none of it seems to be working. The vets are over it. The rookies are on edge. The media's camping outside the facility. And the two quarterbacks at the center of it all? One's hurt and fuming. The other's isolated and radioactive. And all of it, because the Browns couldn't build a functioning development plan. Because they thought drafting two quarterbacks at once would create some magical competition that would naturally reveal the chosen one. Nope. What it did was fracture their foundation before the season even started. They planted seeds of resentment, then acted shocked when something toxic grew. And let's not even start on the coaching staff. Because if there's one group that's come out of this looking completely incompetent, it's them. Where was the awareness? The awareness that tensions were escalating, that egos were swelling, that communication was breaking down, that the energy in the room was turning dark. You can't put two highly competitive rookies in a volatile, undefined power structure and expect maturity to win out. You need structure, guidance, leadership. Instead, you had Stefanski and Rees playing babysitters with no rules, just hoping it would work itself out. Spoiler, it didn't. And now, they got a full-blown locker room crisis on their hands. Let's not gloss over the big picture either. This isn't just bad optics, it's a strategic disaster. The Browns invested in these two quarterbacks. Draft capital, resources, representatives, media rollout. The whole thing was meant to be a fresh start, a clean slate, a youth movement. And now, before they've even played a single snap that counts, it's imploding. Sanders may be out for weeks. Gabriel may be benched out of necessity. And the team's QB strategy? Toasted. They've got no clear starter, no locker room trust, and no time left to pretend like this is just a bump in the road. Because it's not a bump. It's a sinkhole. And it's swallowing the season whole. Fans are furious. Analysts are disgusted. And players are, quietly but definitely, checking out. You can't fake chemistry. You can't tape over resentment. And you definitely can't pretend this team is ready to win when they can't even survive a walkthrough without someone catching a shoulder injury. The truth? The Browns don't need better players. They need better structure, better leadership, better vision. And until they find that, until someone in power actually steps up and says, "We failed to manage this," it won't matter who starts week 1. Because this team is broken in the places that matter most. So where does that leave us? With a franchise in free fall, a fan base hanging on by a thread, a quarterback room turned battlefield, and two rookies whose careers have already been defined by dysfunction before they've even had a chance to define themselves. It didn't have to be this way, but the Browns made their bed, and now it's on fire. Let's be absolutely clear, this wasn't an accident. This was the natural consequence of months, years, even of negligence and mismanagement boiling over. Dillon Gabriel didn't just snap. He was shaped, molded by a system that told him competition meant dominance, not development. That said, you can't really blame the guy for being aggressive when the team gave him no guidance on how to coexist with another franchise QB in waiting. But here's the thing, intent doesn't erase impact. And the impact? Devastating. Shedeur Sanders is now watching from the sidelines, likely rehabbing a shoulder that should have never been in danger. And even if he does return by week 1 or 2, the question becomes, what is he returning to? An offense that doesn't know who to trust? A coaching staff afraid to take a stance? A teammate who took him out and never publicly owned it? And let's not pretend this isn't sticking with him. You think Shedeur Sanders, Deion's son, someone raised in the spotlight and trained to control his image, hasn't clocked every single misstep the Browns have made in the aftermath? Every passive press comment, every player who didn't speak up, every moment the organization could have protected him and didn't? He's watching. He's taking notes. And you'd be a fool to think he doesn't already have one foot out the door emotionally, even if he's still wearing the uniform. What's wild is how the Browns keep pretending like this is just a learning moment for young players. No. This isn't a fumble or a growing pain. This is a case study in organizational rot. A warning sign for every other team in the league about what happens when you draft chaos without a plan. Because what was the plan? Seriously, what was it? Draft 2 alpha quarterbacks in the same year, both with big personalities, both with something to prove. And what? Let them duel to the death? Let the locker room pick favorites like it's an episode of The Bachelor. Quarterback edition? They tried to shortcut culture by creating tension. They thought conflict would breed greatness. But conflict without structure doesn't make champions. It makes headlines. And while Cleveland spirals into another identity crisis, the rest of the league is just watching it unfold like live theater. GMs are side-eyeing this situation and laughing. Coaches are using this mess as a cautionary tale during team meetings. Players are texting their agents saying, "Don't ever let me end up in Cleveland." It's that bad. And you know who else is watching? Shedeur's camp. Oh, they're paying attention. And they're not stupid. They know leverage when they see it. His injury timeline has already given him a built-in reason to keep his distance from this disaster, while still technically being part of the team. No forced smiles. No awkward media day quotes. He gets to sit back and rebuild his body and his image while the Browns destroy themselves. And Gabriel? He's walking a razor-thin line right now. Because even if you remove the emotions from it, if you pretend the hit never happened, he still hasn't done enough to prove he's QB1 material. He wasn't dominating reps. He wasn't lighting up training camp. He wasn't the guy. Now he's the guy who injured Shedeur Sanders and turned the Browns' quarterback room into a national joke. That's his rep now. Fair or not, that's how people will remember him. Unless he turns into an instant superstar on the field. And good luck with that while the team is drowning in drama. He's already lost the benefit of the doubt. And let's just take a moment for the Browns' leadership group, if we can even call them that. Stefanski, Rees, Barry, where are they? They've done the bare minimum to address the situation publicly. And internally, we're hearing whispers of disappointment, of meetings, of trying to move forward. But no accountability, no clarity, no decisive action. The vibe coming out of Berea right now is let's just ride it out. Ride what exactly? The wave of national humiliation? The growing tension between teammates? The loss of 2 rookie quarterbacks, one physically, one reputationally? This team is paralyzed. They don't want to punish Gabriel because it'll make them look weak. But they cannot punish him because it makes them look like cowards. So they're doing nothing, just watching the house burn and calling it a learning experience. Newsflash. Learning experiences don't blow up your depth chart. And let's not overlook the other guys in the locker room. The veterans who've been here too long, who've seen this movie before, and who are over it. How many more years is Myles Garrett supposed to carry the weight of this team's endless dysfunction? How many times does a guy like Joel Bitonio have to stand in front of reporters and try to defend a locker room that hasn't had direction since the Obama administration? There's no culture, just chaos. No unity, just factions. And no one is stepping up to fix it. You want to know how bad it's gotten? There are rookies who haven't even played a preseason snap already considering whether they're in the wrong place. That's how toxic the vibes are right now. And as all of this plays out, the Brown season, before it's even started, is already being redefined. Training camp isn't about development. It's about damage control. Preseason games aren't about evaluation. They're about avoiding further embarrassment. This was supposed to be a fresh chapter, a new era, 2 young QBs competing for the future. Now, it's just another messy chapter in the Browns' never-ending saga of self-sabotage. You think this ends with week 1? Think again. Even if Sanders recovers, even if Gabriel starts, even if someone miraculously plays well, the trust is gone. The fractures are there. The receipts are public. And that more than any stat line is what's going to define this team moving forward. Because how do you walk back from this? How do you ask Shedeur to lead the team again like nothing happened? How do you ask teammates to back Gabriel when they watched him hurt someone they respect? You don't. Not without hard conversations. Not without accountability. Not without a total reset in leadership philosophy. And unless something radical changes soon, the only thing Cleveland is building is another entry in their long, sad Wikipedia section under quarterback controversies. So here's the real question. Do the Browns even want to change? Or are they content being that team? The one where talented players go to fade. Where drama overshadows development. Where dysfunction is just business as usual. You tell me. And while you're at it, sound off in the comments. Should the Browns discipline Gabriel? Is Shedeur Sanders already checked out? And what's your actual confidence level for this team heading into the season? Drop your takes below. And don't forget to subscribe if you want more behind-the-scenes meltdowns, locker room leaks, and quarterback controversies messier than a reality show finale. Because if this is Cleveland's version of a rebuild, we're going to be here for a very long time.